And do you know when the case will now resume under the new judge? Because one assumes that he or she will need to familiarize with the charges against Mr. Kanu.
Namdi Kanu, as you all know, has a new judge, Justice James Omotosho, a Yoruba man. Justice Omotosho has a history of passing judgment that will go down to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court will also affirm it. Now, I did a little bit, investigation and poke nosing into the judge affairs. I discovered that seriously, the man has not passed any grievous judgment that everybody will condemn. I know that judgment has two sides. If judgment favors a party, another party will always complain, okay? But there are judgments that people will say, no, this judgment is not fair at all. So I have not seen it much when it comes to Justice James Omotosho. Now, the whole world will be watching Justice James Omotosho, a Yoruba man who everyone is looking up to him to affirm. Because what the Namdi Kanu Legal Council, what they are saying is that the Supreme Court ruling must be respected, okay? The Supreme Court ruling about Namdi Kanu must be respected. And that is why Namdi Kanu was ever furious when it comes to the court case, and Nyako will be trying to change the Supreme Court, not respecting the Supreme Court judgment. Now they kind of have said that with that number, that the Supreme Court already said the Federal High Court is biased by also keeping him and so on and so forth. So the man you are seeing on the screen is Justice James Omotosho. So we are looking up to what could come next. So the details of what you might expect next was shared by the legal advisor to Namdi Kanu Legal Counsel, former Imo State Attorney General and Senior Advocate of Nigeria. He has the details of everything that you're about to be expecting in this case. He said that this case will totally continue from the beginning, that everything Nyako has done, or the whole thing he has done, that is null and void now. So the new judge will take the case, study it. Nyako was the one that asked Namdi Kanu to remain in DSS custody. So the first thing we are looking up to Justice James Omotosho is that he will ask Namdi Kanu to go home first out of the DSS, custody, according to the Supreme Court judgment that Namdi Kanu did not jump bail. So his bail ought to be restored. So that is what we are looking up to. However, take a listen to what this man said to the end for the benefit of questions that you might ask in the future.
Charlie, thank you very much.
Does it feel like this time we are getting to a place in the incarceration saga of Namdi Kanu that we haven't been before?
It is just going round and round and round of it. And that is why I made my letter to the president. That's the second time.
I'm going to come to that in a minute.
Yes.
But let's just go sequentially.
Yes. Yes, we're about to start a new journey now. But my question now is, why running when we're in the wrong direction? That's my problem. Why running when we're in the wrong direction? This matter of Namdi Kanu, can it only be settled in court? Is it the only way? Is that the best way to approach it?
That's a good point.
When the political issues come like this.
But let's take it, as I said, sequentially.
Good.
A much higher level of positive signals coming as a result of the prompt administrative intervention of Nigeria's Chief Justice, which appears to have broken, as we mentioned at the outset, the impasse over the request for a new judge to handle the matter. How much does that mark a significant shift in the proceedings?
Yes, the proceeding was stalled because he had what Namdi Kanu said. He doesn't want to be tried by the same way. He raised up some legal issues. And then I think he wrote a letter to the CJN and asked for that it be intervened. Yes, a new judge, I think, have been appointed now, have been assigned the case, and I think a hearing notice have been issued. So we start a new plate. But at the end of the day, is that the best solution?
Yeah, but as I said, we're taking this sequentially. We're going to get to what the other potential solutions are. We're going to get to the letter that you've written, all of that. But do you know who the new judge is? Or you're not prepared to reveal it yet?
I think I had a discussion with the good friend, the special counsel, lawyer Nyako. We had a discussion about it, but then I'm not too sure that's what I'm going to keep talking here, because it is something that will could envelop itself.
Right. So
Yes.
you guys are not prepared to reveal who the new judge is. What's the
you know,
big deal?
changes take place. My father told me to live is to change, and to be perfect in life is to have changed often. So until it appears before a judge, that's when we know.
Right.
We
Okay.
don't know who we said, I'm no longer, please, I'm not interested in this thing. So at that stage,
Right.
it
Okay.
will be unnecessarily.
And do you know when the case will now resume under the new judge? Because one assumes that he or she will need to familiarize with the charges against Mr. Kanu and the background to the case.
It is very, very important. Very, very crucial. That case is a very complicated matter. So it is not something you just pick and start flowing with it. No. There's need to take some time to study, because it is a complicated matter. And I think that's why it might be better to find the other routes to it. So that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, well, look, what you're thinking has nothing to do with what the reality is
Yes,
right
the
now. The reality is that there's a case in court.
Yes, yes.
A new judge has been assigned.
Exactly.
So let's move on that trajectory.
Yes.
You're a lawyer.
Yes.
You're a senior advocate of Nigeria.
Yes.
And peripherally, you advise that legal team.
Yes.
So let's move on that trajectory. Could this familiarization process for the new judge mean that there will have to be possibly fresh arguments on key points, possibly new motions from the defense and the prosecution?
Certainly. Everything will start all afresh. Arraignment and all that. We start all afresh with the new judge. So everything will take all afresh.
Right.
He has to enter his plea, whether guilty or not guilty. All that will start all afresh.
And what sort of expectations do you have at this point, based on the fact that things are going to be given, if you like, a fresh impetus?
What I expect is by the time the charges are read and all that, and the accused person studies it and is advised, then that's where the next road would be hit.
Yeah, but is there, I mean, from a legal point of view, and you can tell us, you know, tell the audience, many of whom don't have a legal background, given that the case has come this far, what would be the need for the submission of new sort of, you know, fresh arguments and all that sort of thing? I mean, you would have thought that it's all there on record, what the arguments that have been made are.
Yes, you see, by the time the matter is coming up, we do not know yet what charges will come up. The prosecutor has rights to make a lot of changes.
Yeah, because they've gone from treason to terrorism.
And then you see how the charges were watering down,
Right.
coming down in number, coming down in the content and all that. So maybe a reflection may make it necessary. Either the charges are withdrawn entirely, because being assigned to another judge is not the same thing as you must go on with the charges. So the government has their power to say, no, we are done with this matter. We are withdrawing all these charges. Or we are amending it, we are changing it, or we are increasing it, or whatever. So these are the possibilities.
Right.
But the most important thing is, by the time the day is done, we might be asking, what is the best way out?
Yeah, but for you, from your point of view, I mean, point of view, you being sort of the defense team, what would be the substance of your arguments in court when that case resumes again? Will it be along the same trajectory that essentially this is an issue of freedom of speech and the right to pronounce that he wants self-determination?
I guess the team will toe the line on the basis of what they will see as the charges.
Yeah, they'll react to whatever
is the charges.
Right.
So it is the charges that will determine what will be the reaction, certainly, because it will not be proper to start building a defense to a case you have not even seen.
Right.
Yes.
So let's suggest that this is going to take another pretty long time again.
Oh, certainly. Certainly, it's not going to be a Tea Party affair. It's certainly not going to be a Tea Party affair, because you are raising an issue that has a lot to do with the freedom of somebody, with the leading him to either imprisonment or so. So certainly it's not going to be a Tea Party affair.
No, we're not suggesting that it will be a Tea Party. I mean, the point is that he's already been incarcerated for a long period of time. And what I'm saying is that the longer the case drags on, the longer it wears everybody down, doesn't it?
Certainly.
Yeah, but your expectation is that it's going to drag on for some time still.
Our expectation is, my expectation is posed on the line of some activities earlier, like the letter I'm talking about, is probably, but the next adjourned date, or whenever the hearing notice is given, that we might go there and a different toll gate is taken. And maybe the case will be withdrawn and
right. But you don't have any idea at this point when you're all going to be appear in court again?
I personally, I do not have, or I do not have the mandate to discuss it.
To disclose it?
Yes.
But you may well have a sense of when it's going to happen.
Just the court has the discretion.
Right.
Any day it wants, it will issue a hearing notice and say, appear before me.
Right. And is it your expectation, let me put it in a different way, or at the very least your hope, that the new judge will prioritize a fair and speedy trial?
Every judge is expected to be on the road of fair hearing, speedy trial.
No, but obviously that did not, in your assessment, the assessment of your clients didn't happen in the past with the previous judge.
Yes.
So that is why he wrote a letter, and the Chief Justice then intervened, and the Chief Judge of Abuja then,
Federal High Court
moved the case to another judge.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that, given that, is it your expectation that things will now move, given all the impetus behind it?
Yes.
That it'll move on a new trajectory?
And the accused will certainly expect that, following the hindsight, what have happened in the past, that a new dawn will be there. And the matter will be moved in a more fairly way and in a more open manner and in a more speedy way. Right. So that's what we'll be expecting. But then what we're going to meet there, it will be assessed at the spot.
And what has been Namdi Kanu's reaction to all of this? I understand you saw him recently.
I do. Yes, the reaction is, of course, he made a point, and I think he has had, the points have been looked into, and I think the reality we have now is that the government or the judiciary, the CJN has seen a point to what he raised, and a new judge is assigned. So,
I understand there were some points he was making to you about things he wanted to clarify with the public or something. Is that a fact?
All he wanted to say is what is the best way? What is the best way to handle this matter? And that's why I wrote the letter I wrote. I did. Look, you see, Nnamdi Kanu's issue is a nation-building matter. It's a nation-building matter. So it is not something that we must do in this squeezy way of handling it without looking at the bigger picture of Nigeria. We have to put the bigger picture of Nigeria into place.
Well, the government would argue that there are a number of issues here. One issue is arguably the wider political circumstances that gave rise to whatever it is that he did or said. The other one is the impact of whatever it is he said and did. And the government's argument is that the impact was one that created a restive environment in Nigeria, led to violence, and in those circumstances, if it is deemed by a court of law, to at least certainly the Attorney General, the prosecuting officers, to have led to the commission of violence and a crime, then obviously it would end up in a court.
Yes, I get what you're saying. But there's something I want to ask you.
So it's a matter of the determination of a court in that regard.
No, please. That's not all that needs to be considered.
No, I didn't say that's all that needs to be considered.
Because
but that's something that is to be considered.
Yes.
If it led to the commission of a crime or violence.
There is one point more. If you see the nature of killing that has taken place in Nigerian states, rendering so many of our citizens to be in IDP camps, the murdering that have been taking place. You remember the 70 people killed in Benue State, the 100 killed in Benue State, all other states that were the aborigines were being killed. What has happened upon all these people? But the head of the Mieta Allah have been given a pardon. He have been freed. So, when you are talking about what happened in Benue, Jos, Southern Kaduna, Taraba, where citizens have left their villages and now in IDP camp, what about those ones? But the people that really engineered these murderous episodes, have they not been granted knowledge by the Attorney General of the Federation? Then what about Sunday Igboho of the Odua state? How about it? You see, this question cannot be taken out of context. The most important thing is there is a problem. There is an issue. You cannot look these issues without looking the background.
Okay, let's talk about that background, because we've been talking so far, and I did say that we would get to the other side. We've been looking at the legal side of things. On the political side, there was talk from the Southeast governors, members of the National Assembly, etc., holding meetings with the president, holding press conferences, addressing Nigerians and so on, to try to urge the president to get his Attorney General to drop the case. Where do things stand on that front? Because up till just a few months ago, we were being told that, I mean, we saw the Southeast governors all get together and make an announcement they were going to meet the president. We saw people like Honorable Obi Aguocha, who represents him in the National Assembly. Namdi Kanu is from his constituency. They all came here and talked about all the mobilization that was going on and the fact that they had all these people who were working to try and speak to the political element of this and try and get some action in that respect. And then you yourself have intervened to plead directly with the president on Mr. Kanu's behalf. That's a kind of political intervention or the prerogative of mercy or whatever. What is the situation with all of that?
The situation is, as you have rightly pointed out, different well-meaning Nigerians. Some of them left. Chief Ayo Adebanjo. He pleaded for the release of him. Ayo Adebanjo, nobody will say that he doesn't understand the political reality of Nigeria. He has seen it all. Chief Edwin Clark has made a lot of vital contribution to the growth of Nigeria. He knew everything about Namdi Kanu, and he put in a word before his death. Ezife, Chief Ezife, Ezife is a seasoned statesman. Before his death, he raised this issue. Is it Amechi? Is it Iwanyang? How many of them? All these, plus many other ones, have pleaded because these people understand how Nigeria will benefit from if this Namdi Kanu's issue is handled in a political manner. Yes, there are accusations, but as my letter raised, these accusations is trying to solve effect without solving the cause. We are looking at effect without the cause. It is better for us to have a broader picture of what is the Nigerian problem and then start solving it from there. A situation where there is an element of discrimination in treatment of different people, you are laying a foundation for that a job will not be easy to be finished. Because as long as the pain is still there, the friction will be there. It's not the first. You remember the Calabar prison? Calabar prison. You remember the people that came from the exile? All these came and yet contributed to the growth of Nigeria. I want to let you know, yes, Namdi Kanu, you saw him talk this, there's explanation for that. But the most important thing I want to let you know, and I think I have reason to believe so, is if he's released from this quagmire, if he's treated in a proper way, Nigeria will going to benefit far better. All these set-up crises going on in the East, those are crises that are being, staged, taking some advantages.
Right. Okay, we're getting to the end of this conversation. Do you think that the current momentum driven by all these people, because they've all been saying things, and then you've got the political leaders, and the most arguably influential political leaders are the governors. Do you think that the current momentum on the political front is strong enough to push through, or are you more confident on the legal side of things?
The legal side, I wouldn't be able to determine how it's going to work. The legal side, I wouldn't be able to, because what a lawyer does is to make his own submission. The lawyer doesn't take the pen to write the judgment or to do any other thing. So, what I'm inclined to think, and I believe in, is this matter should be handled in a political manner.
Right, but assuming it isn't, and it stays in court, and the government insists on seeing it through, are there any notable, clearly defined legal precedents that you know that can influence the outcome of this case? I'm not talking about political pardons and things. I'm talking about legal precedents. Or does the terrorism element raise the stakes considerably?
You see, it would be really too very assuming of May to start working on those pendegree. One,
No, I said precedents.
until, of course, the precedents are many, but then that's not the issue now. The issue is until the charges are read, until the arraignment is done, and charges are read,
Right.
and plea is taken. And when we cross all these crucibles, then we can start looking at the bigger picture.
Right.
But short of that, it will be a little bit
Presumptuous.
presumption. They think that what to do. A lot are still that open. But I think it serves this country better. It serves this country better that we handle this thing in a more matured way.
Okay.
You see what happened in Canada?
Very briefly, because we're
Yes.
out of time.
What happened in Canada? Quebec was trying to pull out. What did Canada do? Canada started electing all prime ministers to come from Quebec. Today, are you hearing Quebec succession? You don't do that. Let's pick this thing in a political manner. Let's pick this thing, let there be discussion. Discussion is better. Because we have, in my letter, I have cited several examples where issue of political handling of this type of issue pays better than thinking that we should rough handle
Indeed,
it.
and that's
Yes.
a reasonable analysis. And on that note, I want to thank you very much indeed for coming in. Chukwuma Machuku Ume was the former Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in Imo State. He's a senior advocate of Nigeria, and he advises Namdi Kanu's legal team. Thank you.